Deuki practice. Practices that have endured over time are often referred to as custom. One such prevalent social custom in Nepal is Deuki Pratha. This tradition is observed in the Sethi and Mahakali regions of Nepal's southwestern area, where virgin girls are dedicated to serving the deity in temples. These girls, offered in this manner, are known as Deuki. In a bid to secure a son, overcome an ailment, achieve success in legal matters, or attain a higher social position, the upper class in society purchases the daughters of impoverished families at a minimum cost and dedicates them to the temple of the goddess. Once offered in the temple, these girls are prohibited from returning home or marrying by their own choice. A superstitious belief surrounds the notion that these consecrated girls should not enter into matrimony but engage in sexual relation. Due to the separation from their families, Deukis must rely on the offerings made in the temple for their livelihood. The superstition that Deukis cannot sustain themselves solely on temple income and the belief that engaging in sexual relation brings merit compel them to adopt an undesirable professions such as the sex trade. The Deuki had to live dependent on the village or community that bought and offered her to the deity. It was believed that if the deity was not appeased, it could become uncontrollable, bringing anger and evil to the village. Her duties included cleaning the temple, tidying up villagers' house during puja occasion, and residing in the temple premises or the village. This was how she earned her livelihood. Deukis offered in temples are deemed unsuitable for marriage. They are expected to spend their entire lives worshipping the deity in the temple. Deukis often lack basic literary skills and their financial resources are limited. While their primary source of livelihood comes from the offerings and materials provided in the temple, it is often insufficient to sustain their lives. Consequently, Deukis are forced into engaging in prostitution. Additionally, a superstition exists that having physical relationship with a Deuki can absolve one of all sins, leading to instances of rape against these vulnerable individuals. Such acts are highly reprehensible and criminal offense against women. The tradition of adopting the mother's profession for daughters born to Deukis and appointing sons as temple priests perpetuates harmful practice in the society. This practice contributes to social disorder, forcing vulnerable girls into selling their bodies for survival. The cycle of such practice not only exploits individuals but also perpetuates a cycle of injustice and suffering. Efforts to address and eliminate such harmful traditions are crucial for the well-being and dignity of affected individuals. A girl who is married to a deity and offered in a temple or religious institution is known as Deuki or Deucheli. Following their marriage with the deity, Deukis were tasked with caring for the temple and they were required to undergo training in religious dance and music. The Deuki custom appears to have historical roots and it seems to have originated from the practice observed among Indian kings. In the Indian Mughal era, kings maintained Devdasi who led a dedicated and simple life. However, as the number of Deukis increased and became challenging for the kings to manage, they were seemingly declared as public property. Over time, they were granted the right to engage in sexual activities. This shift in practice may have contributed to the emergence of unjust and socially problematic customs. The idea of a children born from Deukis adopting professions related to sex work for their livelihoods is believed to have originated in South India. Over time, the role of Deukis appears to have evolved into a form of entertainment, particularly in the context of special guests who visited the temple. This is reminiscent of the Devdasi system, where women dedicated to serving deities were also involved in providing entertainment and they received wages for their services. The Devdasi system was prevalent in various regions of India, including Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and Odisha. The Deuki custom, with similarities to Devdasi system, was practiced in India for thousands of years. The deoki system is believed to have originated in the 6th century. In this practice, a virgin girl was ceremonially married to a deity in the name of religion and dedicated to the temple. Parents in the pursuit of fulfilling their wishes would offer their virgin daughters to the temple through a vow. These girls were expected to remain married to the god for the entirety of their lives. The Matsya Puran, Vishnu Puran and Kautilya Arthasastra are among the ancient texts that mention the practice of Devdasi. Devdasis were responsible for caring for the temple, conducting prayers and performing dances within the temple premises. The notion of a woman dancing in the temple being a lifelong virgin is also referenced in Mahakavi Kalidas' Meghadutam. The deoki custom in Nepal is believed to have started around the 14th century of the Vikram era after Nagi Malla, a descendant of the Malla dynasty in the Jumla, annexed the Katyuri kingdom to his domain. According to local folk beliefs, a dispute arose between the god Bageshwar and Nagi Malla. It is said that Bageshwar, in order to demonstrate his power to Nagi Malla, had to offer a deoki to him. After Bageshwar displayed his strength, conquering and defeating Nagi Malla through miraculous rain, attempts to blow away Nagi Malla's coat and harming his queens, Nagi Malla eventually accepted defeat and vowed to free himself from Bageshwar's influence. This legend is a part of folklore surrounding the origin of deoki tradition in Nepal. The history of Baise kingdom mentioned that the deoki custom began after a Devdasi was offered to Doti by King Nagi Malla. According to the historical account, the girl offered to Bageshwari deity by Nagi Malla, a descendant of Raja Malla of Jumla, became the first Devdasi of the Doti kingdom named Devaki. It is said that Nagi Malla bought 2 daughters from the Raval family and dedicated them to the Bageshwar deity. In Doteli society, there is still a tradition of making vows and offering gods with names like Negi, Nayak, Bhul, Khatri to the temple. The temple of the Devaki offered by Devaki herself is to be maintained, clean, and kept unmarried for life. The practice is centered around the temple of Milauli Devi in Baitadi district, and deokis, due to their dependence on the temple offerings, are often forced to engage in prostitution to earn a living. In Baitadi district, which includes temples like Bhagwati Manau, Samaiji Manau, Milauli Devi temple in the lower Surat, Tripura Sundari temple and Thakur Udaya Dev temple in Patan Baitadi, there is a tradition of offering gods. However, once the gods are offered, they are not treated with respect. Instead, they become fully deokis. These gods are compelled to go to house of the individuals who offer them against their will and engage in domestic work. The practice reflects the unfortunate fate that some young girls may face after being dedicated to the temples. The ancient Hindu Vedic scriptures describe the Devdasi practice in 7 categories. Datta, devotees who offered themselves to the temple with devotion and were given the status of goddesses. They were allowed to perform the main function of the temple. Bikrita, those who sold themselves to the temple administration for service. They work as a temple staff, including cleaning and maintenance. Vritya, women who made themselves maid in temples to support their families. Vritya's duties include dancing in the temple. Bhakta, women who willingly gave themselves to the temple as Devdasi out of a sense of service and family responsibility. They were authorized to perform all temple functions. Rita, women kidnapped from other regions and donated to the temple. They were employed by the temple administration but were more like slaves than Devdasi. Alankara, deserving girls made Devdasi by kings and influential people, with the ornaments considered as gift offered to the temple. Nagari, mainly composed of widows, prostitutes, and individuals with criminal backgrounds. They sought refuge in the temple, receiving food and shelter in return for working for the temple administration. The majority of Devdasi were Datta, Bhakta, and Alankara, who were respected and revered in the temple. These categories of Devdasi were not in want, and there was no need for them to engage in inappropriate activities. They were primarily involved in the sacred functions of the temple. On the other hand, Nagari, Rita, Bikrita, and Vritra were women who associated with the temple for their personal interest. These categories of women were compelled to undertake various tasks to earn a living, indicating a different and perhaps less respected status compared to the main Devdasi. Over time, the practice of Devdasi, originally dedicated to gods, devolved into a system where these women became victims of sexual exploitation. Those in position of power within the temple management took advantage of the Devdasi, and many were forced into sex work when they could not sustain themselves with the meager wages provided by the temple. Historical records, including Kautilya's Arthashastra, mention instances where Rita Devdasis were used by kings for nefarious purposes, such as assassinating the king of another kingdom. These girls were sometimes referred to as Vishkanya. During the Mughal period, the increasing number of Devdasi led to the challenges in their upbringing, and they eventually became public property, facing exploitation and being coerced into prostitution to make a living. The practice of deoki is deeply entwined with Hinduism, as feudal lords exploited women's life in the guise of religious devotion and faith, purportedly to appease the goddesses. Women, under the pressure from both society and their families, were enshrined into a religious exploitation. In the context of Devdasi Deoki of Devchali tradition, young women from the so-called upper caste were dedicated to the temple. The priest and other religious figure engaging in physical relationship with the woman offered into the temple was construed as establishing a connection with the divine. As time passed, the control over the lives of deokis shifted to the feudal lords, landlords, and nobility in the society. The deoki custom involves offering a young girl as a living servant to serve the stone idol worship as a deity. In some regions, affluent members of society offer girls to the 7 Shaktipeeths in Baitadi as part of their religious practice. The Constitution of Nepal, promulgated in 1990, recognized the deoki practice as a form of human trafficking and exploitation under the guise of religion and culture. The Constitution of 2072 explicitly prohibits practice like deoki, stating that no person shall be exploited in any way on the basis of religion, custom, tradition, and culture. While the law unequivocally declares the deoki practice as illegal, its complete eradication has not been achieved in practice. The persistence of deoki practice, despite legal prohibition, highlights the complex challenge of eradicating deeply ingrained cultural practice. The high price attached to the tradition and its clandestine nature demonstrate the need for sustained efforts to raise awareness, enforcing existing law, and promote cultural change. Overcoming such practice often requires a combination of legal measure, education, and community engagement to challenge deep-rooted beliefs and superstition. Collaborative efforts from various sectors of society, including government, NGOs, and local communities, are crucial to address the issue comprehensively and create an environment where such harmful practice can be eliminated. Thank you.